Hello troopers, this is a report for the first quarter of 2026, and to start things off, we'll briefly walk you through how we kicked off the year. Most of the team finally got some proper rest over the New Year holidays, so in January we returned to development with renewed energy and a clear head. The first thing we did was to take a careful pass over the technical side of the project, identifying and fixing issues that had built up during last year's fast-paced development. At the same time, the programming team optimized the reactive recoil system, so going forward, we only need to expand it with additional parameters for more realistic behavior during sustained fire. We've also outlined a system for how items like weapons, gadgets and medkits are placed on the character model, so that a player's role and equipment can be identified visually. Work has begun on a network synchronization for all events and objects, including those far away from the player and not currently loaded, which is important for fair gameplay in an environment with a large number of physical objects requiring synchronization. Last summer, we developed our own animation skeleton, anatomically accurate and suitable both for high-quality first-person animations and for realistic full-body animations, which will later support an advanced tactical movement system. However, since the system is still in the planning stage and recording our own mocap animations won't happen anytime soon, we're temporarily using a standard animation sent from Unreal Engine for basic character movement. The issue is that these and many other ready-made animation packs are built for Unreal Engine's default skeleton, which is designed to be more for humanoid robots than for actual humans. To use a single animation across characters with different skeletons, we can use what is called retargeting. It allows, for example, the motion of raising an arm to be transferred for a short and bulky character to a tall and thin one. The problem is that our skeleton differs significantly from the engine's, so the standard retargeting doesn't work here. Our skeleton is based on real human anatomy and includes large number of additional bones and control tools. While developing it, we aim to recreate real human biomechanics so that movements look natural, without unnatural bends, rubber body armor or libs, and with flexibility needed for complex animation work. The Unreal Engine skeleton is much simpler and doesn't allow for this level of fidelity. For example, in our skeleton, the spine is positioned toward the back of the character, where in the engine skeleton it sits directly in the center of the humanoid. Our clavicles are positioned differently to correctly reflect arm rotation arcs, leg proportions differ, limb origins are placed at joint centers as they are in real human anatomy, and so on. All of this results in different pivot points, twisting behavior and deformation during animations. We had to solve this by creating our own retargeting system, one that works under such significant skeletal differences and still supports usable high-quality animations. An additional challenge was making the retargeting additive, so it wouldn't overwrite our skeleton's animations data but instead layer on top of it, allowing us to retain control and make adjustments when needed. What did we achieve? Well, our skeleton now correctly translates motion from any animations created for Unreal Engine, while also allowing us to layer additional adjustments and animations on top. This means that even in early tests, animations will already look solid. Moreover, this flexibility allows us to heavily rework existing animation packs to make them look realistic and usable in the project, which can significantly reduce costs by avoiding the need to record basic animations with expensive mocap. Instead, we'll reserve mocap for advanced elements, tactical movement, stances, deaths, and character interactions both with enemies and allies alike. Right now, we're working on the final version of the game's user interface. During January and February, we mapped out user behavior across different menus, calculating how many actions of varying complexity a player needs to perform to reach specific screens and outcomes. This scheme helps us identify where ideas are overly complex and require simplification, and where additional depth can be added without overwhelming the user. In March, we designed the character customization screen, the most complex interface in the game. It includes nearly every UI element that will appear elsewhere, a large number of icons in different sizes, bars, cards, text blocks, and information of varying priority. We gathered feedback from a small group of randomly selected community members on Discord, aligned on what should be considered convenient, and arrived at the current result. Now take a look at it and let us know what you think down in the comment section. Our approach follows fairly old-school principles, rooted in the game's positioning. Our audience is hardcore PC players, which means we can present a full amount of information right away, offer multiple view modes, use smaller interface elements, and rely on mouse-driven navigation. We don't need to simplify the interface for phones or consoles. What we do need is an interface that feels native to PC, logical, comfortable, visually clean, and packed with thoughtful features you'll see later. We're sure you're gonna like it. One of Entropos' weaker areas at the moment is maps. To address this, from the end of the last year until recently, we were steadily searching for a level designer, someone aligned with the project's vision, familiar with similar games, experienced, and, of course, within our budget. And we found one. Over the past 2 months, we've created initial blockouts for a new map set in the Karelian forest, and are rebuilding the Russian Far East map from scratch, the one that was part of the last Maze test. For now, we're testing their base geometry internally, but before moving to full passability design, cover placement, and especially the art layer, we'll of course need proper testing together with you. By the time pre-alpha launches, we also want to rethink the shooting range. Entropos will be gaining more and more systems over the time, so the shooting range must become larger, more convenient, and give you more tools to test mechanics and prepare for combat. We arrived at an interesting solution for concept work. As we're now fully developing our characters, turning early class ideas for each faction into final production-ready designs, we need to account for a wide range of factors, some of which directly conflict with each other. Before moving into 3D modeling, these ideas have to be worked through on paper and sketches. But instead of creating just 5 models per faction, we now need 15 specialization variants, each with versions for hot, moderate, and cold climates. The models must look believable, which is really important for us, and we plan to dedicate a separate video to our work on characters and gear, but also clearly communicate class roles and faction identity. In simple words, characters need to feel both similar and distinct at the same time. To avoid drawing up to 18 concepts for a single character, which would be time-consuming and inefficient budget-wise, especially with ongoing revisions during consultation phases, we developed a concept constructor that solves all of this at once. We now focus on drawing individual equipment elements, add them to the dedicated Figma project, and can toggle them on and off as needed, quickly testing ideas and adjusting colors and camouflage patterns. Camouflages are now also drawn manually, in line with the game's visual style. Here are some of the ones already complete, and many more are on the way. Let us know in the comments how many you've recognized. In the addition, our artist created a set of low-poly brushes used to texture all objects in the game, including stylized wear, as well as various materials like metal, wood, plastic, and fabric. This allows us to add fine detail while maintaining a consistent visual style. At the end of March, we announced the start of our collaboration with the tactical gear manufacturer Wartech. It's great to see companies starting to pay attention to our game. Since we're placing a strong emphasis on authenticity, it's a major advantage that many items can now appear in the game with accurate designs, real names, and proper markings. And not just from Wartech, there's a lot of interesting things to come in the future. And by the way, if you're a gear manufacturer or a weapon customization brand, feel free to reach out to us. We don't bite, we promise. Game development is becoming more difficult. Developing serious games is becoming even more difficult. The first issue currently affecting our team is internet restrictions in Russia. Since our team is distributed across multiple countries in Europe and Asia, and half of the team is based in Russia, this directly impacts communication, task delivery, and file sharing. It complicates an already challenging development process, adds weeks to timelines, and forces us to spend both budget and focus on simply maintaining the ability to work. That said, giving up is not an option we've taken into account. The second concern is the global trend toward sterilizing creative work. Our goal is not, roughly speaking, to make the game entirely around banwords and swastikas with pentagrams. What we want to create is an honest game about war, about a brutal global conflict that includes hatred, blood, death, trauma, betrayal, love, heroism, and the full spectrum of real human feelings and actions. Some of this has always existed outside social comfort zones, especially as the entire generation has been raised on sterilized mass culture. But today, more and more of it is becoming outlawed. We're not simply complaining, and we're certainly not backing down or abandoning our ideas. We're simply showing you the trends we're seeing and what lies ahead if we want to keep our work authentic. Now for the good news. From January through the end of March, we brought in $5,900. Our expenses total $5,400, and a detailed breakdown is now on your screen. Despite a slight deficit in March, we now have all the key specialists on board, enough runway for several more months of work, enough to finalize new gameplay features, deepen the art, and finally release the new pre-alpha we've all been waiting for. Now, let me end this video with something that's on our minds while we work on this game, while we talk about it, while we do anything regarding it. It's about you, friends. We will never stop thanking you for your continued support, not only financial, though it's what allows us to live and work, but moral as well. There is no doubt that all of us together are moving in the right direction.